Imagine looking at your bank account and feeling proud of how much you've saved, only to realize years later that same money buys you noticeably less than it used to. That feeling of doing everything right and still falling behind is one of the most frustrating experiences in personal finance. And the truth is, it happens to millions of people, not because they're careless, but because nobody taught them the actual mechanics of how money grows, and more importantly, how it quietly shrinks. Today, I want to change that. I'm going to show you how to double your money without taking wild risks, using strategies that are grounded in math, history, and a little bit of smart thinking. Let's start with why most people's saving strategy is quietly failing them. You put money into a savings account, the number goes up, and it feels like progress. But here's the problem. If your account is earning 1% interest and inflation is running at 3 or 4%, you are not gaining purchasing power, you're losing it. The numbers on your screen go up, but the actual value of what you can buy goes down. This is what makes inflation so dangerous. It's invisible. You don't feel it happening in real time. You only notice it when you try to buy something and realize prices have crept up without you getting a raise to match. This is why the goal can't simply be to save money. The goal has to be to grow money faster than prices rise. Once you understand that distinction, everything about how you approach your finances changes. Now let me introduce you to one of the most useful shortcuts in all of finance. It's called the Rule of 72. It sounds complicated, but it takes about 5 seconds to use. Here's how it works. You take the number 72 and divide it by your annual rate of return. The result tells you roughly how many years it will take for your money to double. That's it. So if you're earning 6% per year, divide 72 by 6 and you get 12. Your money doubles every 12 years. At 10%, it doubles every 7 years. At 1%, which is what most basic savings accounts offer, your money takes 72 years to double. That's not a typo. That's almost a human lifetime. What makes this rule so powerful is that it turns abstract percentages into something you can actually feel. And when you start comparing different options side by side, the differences are dramatic. A savings account doubling in 72 years versus an investment growing at 10% doubling in 7. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different financial life. So where can you realistically earn higher returns without gambling your savings away? The first place most people look is the stock market, specifically broad index funds that track something like the overall US market. Historically, these have returned somewhere around 9 to 10% annually over long periods of time. Yes, there are years where the market drops, sometimes significantly, but over 10, 15, 20-year stretches, the historical track record is strong. Using our shortcut, at 10%, your money doubles roughly every 7 years. Over a 30-year career, that's potentially 4 or more doubling cycles. That's how ordinary people build wealth that genuinely changes their lives. Real estate is another option that has historically kept pace with or outpaced inflation. On average, when you combine property appreciation with rental income, returns can fall somewhere around 7 to 9% annually. Using leverage, meaning borrowing to buy property, can amplify those returns further, though it also introduces additional risk. Still, real estate has the advantage of being a tangible asset that tends to hold value even when financial markets are turbulent. Now let's talk about what actually makes the biggest difference of all, and it might surprise you. It's not which investment you pick, it's when you start. Time is the single most powerful variable in building wealth, and unlike returns or market conditions, it's something you have direct control over right now. Let me give you a concrete example. Person A starts investing at age 25, putting away $250 a month into a diversified portfolio earning 10% annually. Person B waits until they're 35 to start, but invests $400 a month at the same return. By the time both reach 60, Person A ends up with significantly more money, despite contributing less each month. The reason is simple. Person A had more doubling cycles. Their money had more time to grow, then grow again on top of that growth. The compounding effect multiplies quietly in the background, but it only does that if you give it enough runway. This is why financial advisors sound like a broken record when they say start early. It's not because they're being preachy, it's because the math genuinely rewards time more than any other factor. But here's where people get tripped up. They start investing, they see their balance growing, and they assume they're on track. The number is bigger, so things must be good. But we talked about inflation earlier, and it applies here too. If your investments are growing at 5% and inflation is at 3%, your real return is only about 2%. Your actual doubling time at real returns isn't 14 years, it's closer to 36. This is why you need to be intentional about choosing assets that have historically outpaced inflation over time, not just assets that technically earn a positive return. Fees are another silent killer. Even a 1 or 2% annual fee on an investment fund can shave years off your doubling timeline. Over decades, those fees compound against you the same way returns compound for you. When evaluating investment options, always look at what you're actually paying to hold that investment. Low-cost index funds exist for exactly this reason, giving you broad market exposure without expensive management fees eating into your returns. Now let me give you a simple exercise you can do right now to see exactly where you stand. Write down every account you have: savings, retirement, brokerage, anything where your money is sitting. Next to each one, write the average annual return you expect from that account. Then divide 72 by each return. That's how long each account takes to double. Next, subtract the current inflation rate from each return to find your real return. Divide 72 by that real number. That's your actual doubling timeline. Now ask yourself this question: how many doubling cycles do you have before you need this money? If you're 40 years old and want to retire at 65, you have 25 years. Does your real return allow for even one full doubling in that window? If not, that's a signal worth taking seriously. The goal isn't to suddenly take reckless risks chasing the highest possible return. That strategy fails more often than it succeeds. The goal is to build a portfolio that's diverse enough to protect you during rough patches, but growth-oriented enough to genuinely beat inflation over time. For many people, that means keeping some money in stable, lower-risk assets for peace of mind, while putting a meaningful portion into growth-oriented investments like index funds or real estate. There's no single perfect formula because everyone's timeline, risk tolerance, and goals are different, but the principles are universal. Start as early as you can. Keep fees low, choose investments with a track record of beating inflation, reinvest returns rather than spending them, and revisit your plan regularly to make sure your doubling timeline still lines up with your actual goals. Here's the thing about doubling your money without crazy risks. It's not about finding some secret investment that nobody else knows about. It's about consistently applying boring, proven principles over a long period of time. The math does the heavy lifting. Your job is just to set up the system and stay patient enough to let it work. Real wealth builds quietly. It doesn't require big bets or insider knowledge. It requires time, direction, and a little bit of discipline. And now that you understand the mechanics, you can stop guessing and start moving with actual purpose. So right now, pull out that calculator, run your numbers, and find out if your money is truly working hard enough for you. Stop wishing you could have more time and freedom and take action to make it happen. This is what my friend Chris from Money Ripples tells clients to do all the time. His mission is to make 1,000 people financially free by 2030. To help him achieve this goal, he created a group coaching system and course called the Wealth Accelerator Academy. The tools and lessons you learn about passive investing and how to vet deals are invaluable to helping you live the life you want. Want to learn more? Check out the course by clicking down the link below. If this video opened your eyes to what's possible, subscribe because your financial freedom story starts right here on this channel.